Guys, Elon Musk just warned us about Bitcoin. Look at this post from IBM. They were talking about their new upgrades to their quantum computer, saying that there's basically going to be no competition. They're really miles ahead of the competition. And then Elon replied saying, Grok, estimate the probability of quantum computing cracking SHA-256. And Grok replied saying, based on 2025 assessments from NIST, IBM and expert surveys, it says there's a 10% chance by 2035. I think that's been very, very conservative. A 10% chance by 2035, but that's very important. And Elon has replied saying, right, as if I'm not too sure about that. Okay. Now, Elon's a very connected guy. He knows a lot of people in tech. He's on the edge of technology, right? He's probably got his own teams working on quantum computing. He was a little bit late to Bitcoin, and he admitted to being late to Bitcoin, and he got on the train late. He was even late to AI, to be fair. He's only just started to do, video processing with AI, and other people are making full-blown movies with AI, right? He's been late to AI. I don't think he wants to be late to quantum resistance, and I think he's going to understand quantum computing, and I think he's going to understand the possibilities. And clearly he's talking about it as if he knows something here, right? He's saying, I'm not too sure about that. Now, even if this is true, there's a 10% chance by 2035. Investors do not like to gamble with low-risk plays, right? If there's a 10% chance by 2035, which is less than 10 years away, guys. If there's a 10% chance, right, there's a 1 in 10, you roll the dice that you might lose your entire Bitcoin investment. You're not going to get serious investors and whales holding that, right? Retail won't care. But you're not going to get someone holding $10 billion or, $1 billion in Bitcoin if they have a 10% chance of it completely going to zero or getting hacked, right? So first of all, that's nothing to sweep under the rug. That's a very serious reality if that is true. I personally think it's much sooner. We've recently seen this post from IBM that says, we're excited to share our plans for IBM Quantum Starling, expected to be the world's first large-scale fault-tolerant quantum computer. The new system to be delivered to clients by 2029, right? Just like 4 years away. To deliver to clients, this is expected to perform 20,000 times more operation than today's quantum computers. So this was only recently, guys. I mean, this was like in June. We constantly see these upgrades happening, and we constantly see AI blowing people's expectations out of the water. Who saw AI movies coming, right? Who saw AI audio? I didn't think we were going to see AI audio for years, and already it's creating music that's better than a lot of producers, Foley that's better than a lot of Foley teams can create. So I think this is all going to come around a lot sooner than we expect, and part of that is because we can now plug quantum into AI, right? So AI is getting so smart now. Elon expects that we're going to have AGI this year or next year. So imagine when AGI is able to understand what quantum is, and AGI is probably going to be educating us on how we can improve quantum, right? So when these two plug into each other, it's just going to, in my opinion, scale very, very fast, way faster than we expect. So Cointelegraph posted here saying quantum computers could revive lost Bitcoin by cracking old private keys. This is not something I've not heard people talk about. Now, people have questioned Michael Saylor on quantum computing, and he says, we're going to upgrade. They'll be able to hack the banks before they can hack Bitcoin. Don't worry about it. It's kind of like a scene from that film, Don't Look Up. And I haven't heard interviewers ask him this question, and I would love to ask this question because I'm asking the question, even if you upgrade and BTC becomes quantum resistance, what we're going to talk about, because I've done this thread about what happened, how Bitcoin, the steps it would go through to upgrade and how long it would take. And there's some really interesting insights in this, guys, where I'm going to be investing my money elsewhere, and I'm going to show you the reasons I'm doing that. But I would love to ask him the question, even if Bitcoin becomes quantum resistant, it's still going to be hacked. The dormant wallets are still going to be hacked. All of the people who have died, right? A lot of people die and their Bitcoin is lost forever because they don't want to leave their seed phrase in the will, right? They don't want to put their seed phrase in the will, and it's out there and people have access to it. So a lot of people die and their Bitcoin goes missing and it's never to be found, or the seed phrases split in all these different locations and they never told anyone where their locations are. It's a real problem, right? When people die, a lot of Bitcoin is just gone forever. It's great if you're a Bitcoin holder, and obviously you've got dormant wallets, you've got lost wallets, you've got seized wallets where the money was seized. You've got all of this Bitcoin, and you can see here the total number of coins, million Bitcoins, the total number of million Bitcoins is just scaling and scaling and scaling. And when Quantum is eventually able to hack the seed phrases, you're not going to be able to move this Bitcoin is the problem, right? You're not going to be able to move. You can't go and move someone else's money with no permission. This is kind of why BTC is fantastic. It's permissionless, right? It's immutable. And that money is going to get stolen, right? You're going to get North Korea. We've just seen North Korea were able to hack Bybit. I can imagine there is entities out there who are working on quantum hacking, right? Quantum, the ability to brute force via quantum and start to try and take some of these dormant wallets. And we are talking about hundreds of billions of dollars that is going to be at stake here. So we have to ask ourselves, in the event that actually happens, so let's say Bitcoin, we're going to talk about this, but let's say Bitcoin does migrate and it becomes quantum resistant. All of the dormant wallets and the people that have died, that's still going to be susceptible. And when quantum is able to hack it, it's going to get robbed, right? And this is going to bring the BTC price down. So for me, it's a trade. I look at everything as a trade. I'm trying to see, where are we going to be in 3 years? Where are we going to be in 4 years, 5 years? And, when that day happens, there's going to be a huge sell-off where wallets are starting to get hacked. But also people are going to panic sell, right? So even holders are going to panic sell. A lot of people are going to lose confidence. And even if we have quantum resistance at this time, people are still going to lose confidence that these old wallets were able to get hacked, right? Even, it's like when Corona broke out, the sales of Corona the beer went down. That's how stupid we are, right? The sales of the Corona the beer, even though it had nothing to do with the virus breaking out, the sales dropped by, I think, a huge amount. I think it was like 40% or 45% sales dropped. People stopped buying the beer because they were worried that it might be connected to the virus because the name was the same, right? This is how stupid human beings are. And even if it's quantum resistant and there's no threat to them losing their money, because they can see news headlines everywhere saying, wallet's just been hacked, this dormant wallet's just been emptied, the user moved it to a decentralized exchange and started to swap it for Ethereum, it's going to be mass fear and a great opportunity to trade. Obviously a great opportunity for me personally. I'll be taking a short in the event that happens, and I'll probably be doing a buy the dip when we find a floor and we start to get some sideways action, because I'm sure it will recover, right? Once those dormant wallets have been hacked and sold, I'm sure it will recover after a set period. But the other play is what happens as we get closer and closer to quantum. Let's say Bitcoin is just on the rise. Let's say it's pushing up to 500k now, because we're looking at a few years ahead. Let's say it's on the rise, and then quantum eventually gets close to hacking it. You might get a sell the rumor event before the hackable event even happens, right? Before the wallets get hacked. You might get a sell the rumor as people start to realize, all of the dormant wallets are still going to be susceptible to being hacked, right? And you might get a sell the rumor, and then you wait for the wallets to get hacked. It's going to be a hard play if we get a sell-off before the event happens. I would imagine you would probably get a sell the rumor. Insiders, some of the largest companies in the world are the guys who are going to find out first, guys and girls who are going to find out first about quantum, right? The people inside IBM, the Elon Musks, a lot of the largest holders of Bitcoin, even Michael Saylor, they're all going to find out before us, the general retail. We might be able to see it on chain. So as you know, I really study on chain data, and we'll probably be able to see insiders and whales selling aggressively on chain. And you'd probably see some patterns on chain, and obviously you would see a lot of dormant wallets as well, because you've got a lot of people who have dormant wallets that are, whales and still have access to it. So you'd see quite dormant wallets, maybe not 14-year-old wallets, etc., but 6, 7, 8-year-old wallets starting to sell aggressively. So the signs would probably be on chain and on the charts, but again, you would probably miss that first major move. So really interesting. And the reason this sparked a lot of interest in me is we saw there was 8 wallets connected to a specific user, 10,000 Bitcoin in each wallet, all dormant for 14 years. And we know, like, what are the odds that you held? The price was 78 cents, and you held, all the way to $120,000. Like, what are the odds of that happening? And I don't know if it was 120 at the time. It might have been a little bit lower, but 14 years already, and you held it in one of the unsafest wallets. Okay, so Cointelegraph have already talked about vulnerable wallets. So you had access to it all this time, but you held it in vulnerable wallets. It just doesn't add up, right? It doesn't make sense. And then you withdrew all of it and started to sell $8 billion. Okay, so you watched 78,000, you watched it go to 10 million, you watched it go to 100 million, you watched it go to 500 million, you watched it go to $1 billion. You still didn't take profits at $1 billion. And then all of a sudden you go and sell it all at once. So this is kind of the data you would see in the event that the hack is approved. And that's what worried me about some of these transactions, because we saw a lot of these dormant wallets popping up out of nowhere, selling aggressively, moving all of the money in one single transaction as well. So imagine you had $78,000 worth of Bitcoin and it went to 8 billion. Would you really start moving billions in one transaction, or would you send a test transaction first? They might have sent it all in one transaction because they were worried about it being picked up, and people, people seeing the transaction and trying to jump it. But it's very, very odd data. I'm not saying that this was a hacked wallet. I'm just saying this is the exact data I would be looking for when we see quantum eventually start to break some of these old wallets, which I think is inevitable. I don't think it's a maybe, guys. I think it's inevitable. So I am taking and trading accordingly, right? I wouldn't have 50% of my portfolio or 70% of my portfolio like a lot of the Bitcoin maxis. If there is even a 10% chance that Bitcoin can get hacked, of course I'm not going to have 100%. It's, just as I wouldn't invest in a lot of low risk assets, I wouldn't invest in gold if there was a 10% chance that it was going to go down, down 90%. We'd also see gold rallying, right? And what has gold been doing recently? It's almost gone up $10 trillion in a very short amount of time and hasn't even had a pullback. So these are the kind of things I would be looking for when quantum starts to hack Bitcoin. I'd expect gold to have a ferocious move to the upside. I would expect loads of these dormant wallets to pop up and start to move and start to sell everything immediately. Probably not in centralized exchanges. So the good thing about this is it was sent to a centralized exchange, and they would have had to KYC. So whoever washed this for them or sold it for them would have had to have known who the customer is. So it probably is a real person. If you start to see this and it's going to it's going through like what are they called? I can't remember what they're called. The washers, where they basically wash the money and they put it through all of these different decentralized systems, and then they usually move it. They can move it into Ethereum, or they'll usually move it into DAI, which is decentralized stablecoin. Lots of different assets they move it in that can't really be can't be shut down. So yeah, really, really interesting, and I think it's important to stay on top of this because there's a few different trades here, and also I don't really want to be messing up my allocation for the next bull run and have too much in Bitcoin if this is going to become a real threat over the next few years. So I've done this little thread here. I won't waffle on about all of it. It is quite nerdy, guys, and even I don't understand how some of the processes of this work, but there is some really cool stuff at the end where, I found out some cool data, which I'm going to act on, right? My next portfolio, I'm actually going to invest in this specific company quite heavy because of this quantum resistant issue. So first, the basics. Bitcoin's main quantum vulnerability isn't SHA-256 hashing. So that's Grover's algorithm. It's ECDSA signatures protecting the private keys. Quantum computers could use Shor's algorithm to derive private keys from public keys if exposed. Okay, so we know that is a major threat, and that's how these wallets are potentially going to get hacked. So I'm quite interested in the timeline, and I think this is where we're going to have a problem. I think we're going to be slow to react, and I think it's going to take a lot longer than most people expect. So I put timeline. When could quantum hack? Seed phrases, current qubits, 100 to 1K, Google's Willow. This is based on current. Don't forget, guys, and we're constantly seeing these upgrades. So this is based on current, and it is saying around 2030 plus. Okay, so in the next 5 years is really where we need to start getting worried. Okay, now that's very important because it might take 2 years for the upgrade, right? And 2 years is fast for Bitcoin to upgrade. This isn't something you can do overnight. It might take 2 years, and if we're looking at potential risks in 5 to 10 years. In my opinion, we need to move fast. We don't want to be sitting here like quantum is ready to hack. Like in 6 months, it should be ready to hack in a year, because then you're going to take 2 years to upgrade the system. And what are people going to do? They're going to sell their Bitcoin, right? If they think there's a threat, they're going to sell their Bitcoin. How does Bitcoin upgrade to be quantum resistant via soft forks for backward compatibility? Switch to post-quantum SIGs like NISTs, crystals. I'm not going to pretend I know what these are, guys. These are different types of sharding, I believe. High-level research, BIP, code, consensus. Migrate. Past examples are SegWit. So SegWit was quite a big upgrade for Bitcoin, 2015 to 2017. Don't forget, that took around 2 years. Apparently there was a lot of block size drama. Taproot was one of the other big upgrades, which took 3 years, 2018 to 2021. Non-continuous 1 to 2 years. Okay, so most of the upgrades have taken around 2 years, and this quantum resistant, I would say, is quite a big upgrade, and we're looking at 2 to 3 years for a potential upgrade, and that's once we get going, right? That's once they click the go button and they actually start. So detailed stages for quantum resistant. Okay, so I'm not going to waffle on about all of this techie stuff, but basically this is the first stage, which would be community review on GitHub. Timeline is usually about 1 to 3 months. No formal vote. It's basically dev consensus, okay? Then you go on to testing and implementation. So code into Bitcoin Core, test on testnet, simulate attacks. So that's very important. Because you don't want to do this upgrade and then find out there was a vulnerability and that it's able to get hacked. So 6 to 12 months that process can take, with a peer review and then node buy-in. Deployment release, updated software, nodes, stroke miners, upgrade voluntarily. 3 to 6 months, economic nodes, exchanges with keys. Miner signaling via BIP 9, need 95% hash rate over 2016 blocks, which is 2 weeks. If hit, lock-in then activates, which could take around 1 to 3 months. If it's below, then possible user-enforced like SegWit. Okay, so that's how they managed to push SegWit. It will go back to the users. Activation, new rules enforce. Phase A, ban vulnerable sends. Phase B, 2+ years. So it's not even 2 years, it's 2+ years. Invalidate old signatures. Immediate post-signaling, no more votes, network then enforces. User migration, wallets add quantum resistant support, users transfer funds. So that's the problem I've mentioned, right? The dormant wallets, the lost wallets, the confiscated wallets are not going to be able to transfer funds. And it's going to be a big ball ache because some people are going to have to move their Bitcoin for the first time when they didn't want to, right? So you might even see some people sell their Bitcoin and then just buy back once it becomes quantum resistant, because there's always going to be a fear that what if this upgrade goes wrong, right? You've got some serious whales holding Bitcoin. Many people are holding billions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're going to be asking the question, what if this doesn't work? What if they mess this up? What if there's a problem and, they go live and actually transactions stop sending, or, something goes wrong, or what more wallets continue to get hacked even after becoming quantum resistant? Because if wallets get hacked after the upgrade, it's going to take 2 years to fix, right? So you're going to have loads of wallets continue to be attacked. So there's going to be a lot of fear around this. And some people, traditional investors, TradFi, typically like to de-risk in situations like this. They like to, hey, Bitcoin's price isn't going to go anywhere immediately. I'm going to wait for this upgrade, okay? So we're probably going to get some fears around the upgrade anyway. I'm just going to wait for this upgrade. I'm going to sell my Bitcoin. I'm going to sell the rumor. And then if it becomes quantum resistance and we see some strength in the charts and, it's strong, I'm just going to buy it back, right? Even if I have to buy back 10% or 20% higher, it personally, for me, I didn't want to risk losing my $100 million, right? So I'm just going to sit here in cash and then bang, I'll whack it back into Bitcoin once it's become quantum resistant. So I think there is potentially going to be a lot of de-risking around this event. It makes sense to me personally. Approval thresholds, miner focused, at 95% safety. We've already talked about this. Proposals suggest 1 to 2 years of downtime risk if rushed. A downtime. We don't want to see Bitcoin go down for 1 to 2 years, right? So they're clearly not going to rush this. It says careful planning is essential. We don't want to see them rush this at all, because if Bitcoin needs to go for a year of downtime, that's not good, right? People are going to flood into other blockchains. Okay, so we're talking about the effects of QR here, and transactions also are going to be affected, right? Throughput, bigger transaction equals fewer block, 1 to 4 MB limit. TPS drops from 7, cost fees up 2 to 5x initially. So I don't know if that's going to come down, but the cost fees of transactions are going to go up initially. Storage, nodes need more space, optimizations, mining unaffected, much SHA-256 Grover resistant. I don't know if that's going to be resistant forever, so I don't know if they need to upgrade SHA-256 as well. Manageable, but BTC's slowness shines here. So comparison, is it easier for other chains? This is what I want to know. I want to know where the money might flow to. If Bitcoin has issues, it's late to react, it's late to become quantum resistant. Is someone else going to be quantum resistant faster and poses no threat? So it is easier for other chains compared to Bitcoin. Decentralized slow minor consensus. Ethereum is hard forks coordinated by Foundation, quantum resistant via EIPs, for example, ZK Starks or Lattice, and 1 to 2 years possible roadmap exploring. So Ethereum is still going to be slow, 1 to 2 years, probably a bit faster than Bitcoin, but Ethereum is also going to be slow to upgrade to quantum resistant. But most importantly, it's going to be first, right? And I think there's going to be a lot of money flow into whoever becomes first, because once you become quantum resistant, there's no real threats anytime soon. Solana is centralized with validators. Well, it says centralized, but it is decentralized, but it's more centralized than a lot of other blockchains. Agile upgrades already claims QR vaults with hash signatures, 6 to 12 months for full. So Solana is a lot faster, 6 to 12 months for a full upgrade, but it says potential outages as well, and people don't like Solana outages. It's had a good record so far. They definitely don't want these outages. But I mean, if they're warning people that, hey, we're going to go down for a bit to become quantum resistant, that's great. So Solana is going to be faster than Ethereum. And as you can probably see, Sui's going to be first. Solana is going to be faster than Ethereum, but Sui is going to be first. Sui, new quantum-minded move language, ZK proofs, enable seamless upgrades, no address changes. So actually very smooth for Sui, as there's no address changes required. Likely fastest, minimal disruption per blocks. And Sui's market cap is tiny, right? I think it's a 40x away from Ethereum. And this is what I mentioned at the start of the video, guys. You know my bags already. A lot of my bags I plan to buy in the bear market are Solana and Sui. And Sui, if it can become quantum resistant before Ethereum, before Solana, before Bitcoin, I love that. And I think that's going to be a big narrative for next cycle. I think chains in the racing to become quantum resistant is going to be a huge narrative. And people like peace of mind, people like certainty. And if Sui is quantum resistant and you've got these other chains that aren't quantum resistant, and all we're seeing in the news is quantum's almost ready to hack, or quantum's almost ready to hack, Sui's marketing is going to be Sui unhackable, right? Already quantum resistant. And not only that, it's extremely cheap, it's extremely fast. And people might start asking the question, why am I using some of these slower blockchains that are expensive and slow when, Sui has clearly proved how fast they're able to upgrade, and how secure the network is. Okay, so really, really important. I think Sui's here to stay. I think Solana's here to stay. I think Ethereum's here to stay, and I just hope that these blockchains upgrade to quantum resistant as fast as possible rather than wait. Like we live in this if it's not broke, don't fix it mentality a lot of the time, and it's the worst strategy. So big challenges upgrading with existing seed phrases and non-KYC users. Milestones, anonymous, no emails. So this is the problem with decentralization. I say it's a problem, it's a benefit and a problem. You're not exactly going to be able to email out all of the users saying, hey, you're going to have to upgrade. Not everyone is as nerdy as us, just like looking at this stuff all the time, every single day. There's people out there holding Bitcoin and crypto who have no idea about quantum computing. And there's probably going to be thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people who don't even know that there is a quantum threat, right? They've been told to never sell their Bitcoin. They've been told just to hold and hodl, and they've just put it in there. They put it to the side, and they're like, yeah, I'll come back to that in 5-6 years. I've got a life to live, right? I've got a family. I've got kids. I've got a job. There's going to be loads of people like that who don't upgrade to these new wallet systems, and it's not like you can just send them an email saying, hey, you're going to have to upgrade, or you might lose all of your money. It's going to be a massive problem, and you're going to hear so many stories about so many people whose wallets have been hacked and they haven't upgraded and they didn't know, and obviously the dormant wallets, it's going to be all over the news, and it's going to be a massive fear bonanza. So new wallets generate QR. Okay, so basically you're going to just have to transfer funds, right? So your current wallets are not going to become quantum resistant. It's not like all of a sudden all of our money is safe. You're going to have to send it to a new quantum resistant wallet. You're going to have to set up a new wallet. Then there's the fears because it's the current system has worked for so long, right? Look at these dormant wallets who have popped up for 14 years with billions of dollars. It's almost like a message to people, right? It's like, hey, look how secure this system is. $8 billion has just sat here for 14 years without being hacked. You've got more chance of actually getting hacked and losing money in the bank, right? I think the bank fraud rate is about 7 to 14%. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, it's a massive alarm to the system. So yeah, I think it's going to be. Just plug in my charger in here 1 second. I think it's going to be a huge problem. I think it's really going to be a lot of fear over the news. Apps like Electrum auto-generate QR. So this is talking about Ethereum's upgrades. I'm not going to waffle on about this, guys, but it's basically talking about the different types of upgrades that Bitcoin can do to become quantum resistant. So here are my final thoughts on this. Okay, the time to prepare is now. Tech timelines are accelerating. What once seemed like decades away may arrive much sooner. The quantum threat to crypto isn't hypothetical, it's inevitable. Okay, so it's not a maybe, it's not an if. Michael Saylor uses a lot of the words on these videos like if it happens or it potentially happens. It's inevitable that quantum and AI are going to reach the speeds that are going to be able to hack this. We're in the very early days of quantum. We were in the very early days of AI a few years ago, and I was watching a stick man trying to run around and stand up. Now I'm watching movies where I can't even tell the difference between real life and AI movie, right? I'm watching AI create songs, with vocals and singers and drummers, and tech is just getting out of control way too fast, and I think this is inevitable. So I think we need to act now rather than wait years and years, wait for it to get closer. Don't worry, don't look up. I think that's going to be a huge problem if we take that approach. Bitcoin's if it ain't broke, don't fix it culture could prove dangerous here. By the time quantum attacks become real, it may be too late to respond effectively. Being proactive is the only safe path. Other chains like Sui and Solana with faster upgrades and mechanisms might leap ahead in this new era. And don't forget, millions of dormant and lost wallets, untouched for years, will be vulnerable regardless. And, at some point, those wallets are going to get attacked. That money's going to get stolen. That money's going to get sold. There's going to be a lot of fear. There's going to be a lot of price dumping, and the price is going to come down. And also, there's going to be a race to try and hack those wallets, right? Because if we know that users can't move those BTC, there's going to be a real race between a lot of these countries like North Korea, a lot of bad actors are going to be racing to try and hack that money. Because imagine if there's like 100 billion there, if Bitcoin doubles in price, which we expect it's going to, maybe even triples in the near future, you're talking about 200 billion, then 400 billion, then 600 billion, right? There might even be trillions of dollars on the line to be hacked from dormant wallets and lost wallets. If these people manage to achieve this, and don't underestimate what the lengths people will go to when money is on the line, right? If there's $1 trillion on the line, and all you have to do is try and brute force, this new quantum tech, the amount of money going into quantum is going to be phenomenal as well. Don't forget that, guys. I'm really invested heavily into quantum, and if quantum does hack Bitcoin, then don't forget the price of quantum is going to go through the roof as well, not just gold. So the price of gold is going to skyrocket. We might even see this being front run, right? It's weird that Elon is talking about this, saying, I don't really believe this. Like, it's almost like he's giving us the heads up here that I'm not too sure about this. And then we see gold running. We see all these dormant wallets getting out of the market. Even if this is a real person and it wasn't a hack, it wasn't like an early quantum computing hack, it's very alarming for someone to go and sell all of their Bitcoin for the first time in 14 years. And it might actually be because they can see what we're talking about right now, right? They can see potential sell the rumor news as we get closer to quantum being able to hack Bitcoin. It's a real threat. It's a real risk. And, maybe we'll see more people taking profits because they're up massively, right? You put 78,000 in Bitcoin, you're up 8 billion. Doesn't add up. Guys, that's pretty much it. I think I've covered everything. When that happens, the market impact could be devastating, shaking trust and price. Trust is the main one. Bitcoin has a lot of faith and a lot of cult-like holders because of the trust in the system, the decentralization of it, the immutable processes, and that trust would be shaken. I'm not saying it would be lost, but it would be shaken if you just hear story after story about Satoshi's money's been stolen. It's been sent to a mixer. That's the word I was looking for. It's been sent to a mixer and it's been sold and they're selling it to stablecoins. Imagine the fear and the trust that's lost. And Bitcoin wants to be quantum resistant by then, because if it's not, I don't know, you're going to really, really struggle. I think blockchains are going to be around forever, but I think you're going to see a lot of money flow into other blockchains. And people are also going to ask the question, if it takes 2 to 3 years to upgrade in an emergency, sorry, this isn't quite an emergency. If it takes 2 to 3 years to upgrade when we've got prior warning, what happens when we have an emergency situation? What happens when tech explodes? Let's say we get AGI and quantum working together and we really underestimate what they create. What happens when there's another alarm and it's 6 months away or 2 months away and we know it takes 2 or 3 years to upgrade Bitcoin? It's a serious problem. It's a serious problem. And, I don't want to FUD Bitcoin. Like I put here, this is not fear-mongering, it's foresight. Better to adapt before we're forced to. And if Bitcoin becomes quantum resistant, I would put a lot more money into Bitcoin than I would right now, right? I would no way put 70%, 50% in of my portfolio into Bitcoin anymore. Last cycle I would have, right? Not this upcoming next cycle. No way. Not with even a 10% chance that it could get hacked. And I don't think people have talked about this inevitability that the dormant wallets are going to get hacked, right? So we're going to see hundreds of billions be hacked and sold eventually. So yeah, I am a Bitcoin maxi. I do love decentralization. I do love owning your own money. I love that there's no middleman and we don't have to go through these banks, etc. But also I'm trying to be realistic. I don't have a cult like attachment to Bitcoin. I'm trying to make money. And if I can make money short in it, great. If I can make money long in it, great. Like I'm trying to see if I can predict the price movements of this in specific events prior. I can leverage that. I can make a lot of money, right? When Trump and Kamala was up, I was like, perfect. If Trump wins, I'm going to long. If Kamala wins, I'm going to short. It was a simple A or B situation. And I was very confident I was going to make a lot of money. And I ended up making hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars off the back of that decision. The same thing I'm going to do with quantum. If quantum looks like it's getting closer to being able to hack Bitcoin wallets, and Bitcoin is lagging behind the decentralization, I'm going to short Bitcoin. And the day that quantum is able to hack wallets, I'm going to short Bitcoin anyway, even if it's quantum resistant, because we know that the dormant wallets are not going to move their money. We know that all the people that died are not going to be able to move their money. And some of the people that died, guys, might have died 2 years ago, 1 year ago, 6 months ago. So even new wallets might look like they're not a problem or a threat, or might get hacked. Even the new wallets could get hacked, right? Even the new wallets could get hacked. I think there's going to be so many wallets that surprise a lot of people that don't move their funds. And you're going to see it over the headlines, right? 35% of Bitcoin users haven't moved their funds. This is strange. Why? Some of them might be dead. You know, we've seen after COVID the rises in death and cancer is crazy, right? So some of them might be gone, some of them might be dead, and I think it's going to surprise a lot of people how much money is on the line to be hacked by these quantum computers and bad actors. Go and have a look through the thread, guys. Don't forget to follow me on X. None of the information in this video is financial advice. Do your own research. Investing in crypto is highly risky. You can lose all your money investing in anything, so always do your own research. I'm not a financial advisor. Go and follow my X. You can see my name here, this name here. Type this into X and it will bring up my account. I'll do some more posts on this. Drop in the comments below your thoughts. I can't reply to you on YouTube, so go to my X if you want to get involved in some discussion and we have some back and forth. I want to hear your opinions on this and what you sort of think is likely going to happen. Maybe some things I haven't thought about, right? Some issues that I haven't thought about. Don't worry about the banking system. That's all centralized, guys. They'll update the banking system overnight, right? Well, not overnight, but you know what I mean, in a week or so. It's just a new software upgrade that will introduce. It's not a decentralized ecosystem that takes 2 or 3 years to upgrade. So that banking argument is almost annoys me. Like, what sort of argument is that? It's not a decentralized network of miners voting. They'll go to a boardroom, they'll go to a software company, and they'll upgrade to quantum. It's done, right? This is a real threat. And they also don't have loads of dormant bank accounts that are going to get hacked if quantum is approved. It's a completely different situation, and it's the worst counter argument. And it really worries me when they come up with these bad counter arguments. It's like, if that's the best you've got, then I'm really concerned. So go over to X. I want to hear your feedback and comments about this. Have a look through the post, and don't forget to like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. I'll do some more videos. I'm gonna stay updated on this throughout each development in quantum computing. I want to stay up to date as possible, because there's not just trades there, right? I'm also invested in Bitcoin, and I'm gonna be invested even more in Bitcoin in the bear market. You know, I think it's important to stay on top of it, especially if we could end up losing a lot of money. That's it for now, guys. Until then, I will catch you in the next one.